I cooked a full Thanksgiving dinner alone while my son's wife drank wine with her friends. When I asked for help cleaning, she laughed and said, "You're just the maid here." My grandkids joined in. The next morning, she walked into a kitchen that made her scream. I'm a 64-year-old widow. I lost my husband, Mark, to a stroke 5 years ago. We were married 38 years. After he passed, I sold our house in Virginia and moved to Colorado Springs to be closer to my only child, Aaron. I didn't want to be alone, and I missed my grandkids like crazy. At first, it felt like the right choice. I rented a little condo 10 minutes from their house. I'd come by to babysit, bring over casseroles, help with laundry when Brianna had her second baby. I just wanted to be helpful. I didn't expect much in return, just some kindness, maybe a thank you once in a while. Brianna was polite in the beginning. Not warm, but polite. Over time, she got colder. She stopped inviting me to the kids' events. Would text me hours before a birthday party to say, "Actually, it's just friends this year." That sort of thing. I'd ask Aaron if something was wrong, and he'd always say no. "She's just tired. She's just overwhelmed." I stopped asking after a while. I figured I could either argue and lose time with my grandkids or keep quiet and at least stay close. Every Thanksgiving since they got married, I'd cook the dinner. No one asked. I just did it. Last year, I hinted that maybe we could all pitch in. Brianna smiled and said, "Oh no, you've got your traditions. You love this stuff." That was her way of saying no. So this year, I decided I'd do it one last time. A big, beautiful meal. One more real family holiday. I spent hours planning. I bought everything with my own money. Aaron didn't offer, and Brianna didn't even respond when I texted her the grocery list. The day before Thanksgiving, I prepped everything. I made cranberry sauce from scratch, baked pies, apple and pumpkin, started the stuffing and chopped all the vegetables. My back was sore, and my hands are cramping by the end of the night, but I was proud of the spread I was putting together. Thanksgiving morning, I showed up at their house around 7 a.m., arms full of groceries and cookware. No one greeted me. The kids were watching cartoons. Brianna and 2 of her girlfriends were already in the living room, drinking rose and chatting like it was a spa day. She saw me walk in, smirked, and said, "Oh, the chef's here." Not "good morning." Not "can I help you with that?" Just that. I took a deep breath, smiled, and got to work. All day, I cooked while they sat around drinking and laughing. Loud music, phones buzzing constantly, clinking glasses. I felt like a servant in a restaurant kitchen. At one point, I asked Brianna if she could peel some potatoes. She glanced at me and said, "Oh, you've got your system. I'd just mess it up." Then poured herself more wine. At 4 p.m., I served dinner. Turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes, stuffing, roasted carrots, green bean casserole, rolls, pie. The table looked like something out of a magazine. They barely said a word. Aaron mumbled, "Thanks, Mom." Brianna picked at her plate. The kids whined about the vegetables. After dessert, I started clearing the table. I paused, looked around, and asked, "Could someone help me with the dishes?" Brianna leaned back in her chair, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You're just the maid here, remember?" Then she laughed. And my grandson laughed too. "Grandma's the maid," he shouted, proud of himself. My granddaughter chimed in. "Maid, can you make me cocoa?" No one stopped them. Aaron stayed quiet. That was the moment. I didn't say a word, just nodded. I felt something snap inside me. I stayed quiet the rest of the evening. I smiled. I said goodnight. I slept in their guest room like I'd done every year. But I didn't sleep. Not really. I laid there staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft thump of music still coming from the living room. I realized they didn't see me as family anymore. Maybe they never really had. I was a convenience. A free cook, babysitter, errand runner, a maid. I knew what I had to do. At 6 a.m., I got up before anyone else. I moved quietly. I brought in empty boxes from my car and started packing. I took every dish and pan that was mine. My cast iron skillet, my Dutch oven, my mixing bowls. I took my stand mixer, the one I bought after saving up for months. I took the silverware set that used to belong to my mother. I went into the pantry and grabbed everything I'd bought: flour, sugar, olive oil, spices, tea bags, canned goods, vanilla extract. Even the paper towels I'd brought over. When I was done, I wiped down the counters, left everything else clean. I wrote a short note and left it on the island. You're right, I'm just the maid. But I quit. Good luck. Then I loaded my car and drove away. 3 days later, I finally turned my phone back on. Aaron had texted. Mom, what the hell? Brianna sent one message. You're being dramatic. I didn't reply. After I left that morning, I expected silence, or maybe a half-hearted apology. What I didn't expect was how quickly everything would spiral. 2 days after Thanksgiving, Aaron showed up at my condo. He didn't call first, just knocked hard on the door like he was mad. When I opened it, he didn't smile. He didn't even say hi. His first words were, "You embarrassed Brianna. You owe her an apology." I just stared at him. I said, "Come in." He didn't sit down. He stood there with his arms crossed like I was a child he had to scold. "You made her feel attacked," he said. "You left a note and just disappeared." She was humiliated when her friends came over the next day, and there wasn't even coffee. I laughed once. Just once. A short, bitter sound. "You care more about her coffee than how she treated me?" I asked. He sighed and said, "You know how she is. She jokes. You take things too seriously. You always have." That hit me harder than I expected. "Too seriously?" I said. "You sat there while she called me the maid, while your kids laughed at me." He looked down and said, "They're kids. They didn't mean it." "And what about you?" I asked. "What did you mean when you sat there and said nothing?" He didn't answer. I told him, "I'm done being your free help. I cooked for you for 5 years. I bought groceries, babysat, cleaned, and none of it mattered. I was just the background noise to your little family picture." He said nothing, just stood there, jaw clenched. Then he left. That was the last time I saw him in person. A week later, I found out from a friend at church that Brianna posted about me on Facebook. She made a long post, no names of course, about bitter old women who weaponize holidays to get attention. She claimed I stormed out and left the whole family hungry and took things out of a house that didn't belong to me. That one hit hard, because I had taken everything that was mine, but I left everything that wasn't. And I never made a scene. Not once. But people don't care about truth on social media. They care about drama. And Brianna knew how to play the victim. Neighbors started asking quiet questions. A few of Aaron's friends who used to greet me warmly at the store now looked the other way. The worst part? My grandkids stopped texting. No little emojis. No love you, grandma. Nothing. It was like I died. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone. I made myself a small dinner, watched old movies, tried not to cry when I passed the ornament box I'd brought from Virginia, the one I used to let the grandkids decorate with. Then in January, I got a call from my granddaughter's school. The vice principal left a message. Apparently, my granddaughter had written an essay about how her grandma abandoned them at Thanksgiving and ruined the holidays. The school wanted to know if there was a custody issue or some family crisis they should be aware of. I sat in my car outside the grocery store listening to that voicemail over and over again. That's when I knew this wasn't just about Thanksgiving anymore. Brianna had poisoned my relationship with my family, and Aaron let her. And that meant this wasn't over. It wasn't just about food or dishes or even the name calling. It was about respect. It was about what I'd given to them. And how easily they erased me. I had no interest in revenge at first. But after that voicemail, I started to feel differently. I started to remember things. Legal things. Financial things. Aaron had signed onto something with me years ago. Something Brianna probably didn't even know about. And suddenly I realized I had leverage. I didn't go looking for revenge at first. I really didn't. But that school call changed something in me. It told me Brianna wasn't just cruel. She was rewriting the story, making me the villain in my own family. And Aaron? He was letting it happen. But they forgot something. Back in 2019, Aaron asked me to help him co-sign a second mortgage. He wanted to renovate the house, add a new kitchen, redo the basement, all that. His credit was decent, but he needed mine to qualify for the full loan. He promised I wouldn't have to pay a dime. Just needed my name to push it through. I trusted him. I wanted to help, so I signed. But I never signed off. I was still legally tied to the house. Still on the loan. Still listed as a co-borrower. And as I sat there in January listening to that school voicemail, it hit me like a freight train. That house I'd spent every Thanksgiving in for the past 5 years? I technically own part of it. Maybe not the deed, but enough to make things very, very complicated for them. I pulled the paperwork. I kept everything, call it habit or instinct. I made an appointment with a real estate attorney just to ask questions. He looked it over and said, "Technically, you have rights. If they sell or refinance without your consent, they'd need to buy you out or get your approval." I asked, "What happens if I don't give consent?" He smiled. "Then nothing happens. They're stuck." That gave me something I hadn't had in months. Control. I didn't do anything rash. I waited. Quietly. Patiently. Then in March, Brianna sent a group text to a few people, me included by mistake. She was bragging about how they were getting ready to refinance and cash out some equity to fund a trip to Europe this summer. "Finally getting out of this cold hell," she wrote. "We'll be sipping wine in Italy, while someone else scrubs the toilets for once." She added a laughing emoji. That was it. I replied to the text calmly and clearly. "Just a reminder. I'm still on that mortgage. You'll need my signature. And I don't sign for liars." It was silent for hours. Then Aaron called. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. Not angry, just tired. I said, "Because you let your wife teach our grandkids that I was worthless. And now you want to profit off the house I helped you qualify for?" "No." He tried to argue. Said I was holding them hostage. I said, "You held me hostage for years, doing all the work, giving all the love, getting nothing back. I'm just returning the favor." A week later, I got a formal letter from a lawyer, clearly someone Brianna found. It was a request to consider buyout terms. I smiled. Now they were playing my game. See, what they didn't realize is I didn't want the money. I wanted the truth. I drafted my response. A letter to their lawyer outlining my terms. A written apology from Aaron and Brianna, acknowledging what they said and how they treated me. No legal trickery, just honesty. A commitment from them to attend family therapy with the kids, to fix what they broke. No social media posts about me again. Ever. If they agreed, I'd sign off on the refinance. If not, I'd hold the mortgage hostage indefinitely. Ruin their plans. Watch their dream vacation crumble. I gave them 10 business days to respond. Day 8, I got an email. Aaron signed everything. Brianna didn't write her part. She just scrawled fine under his name. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I let the refinance go through. I took my name off the loan. I washed my hands of the house completely. But before I let go, I mailed copies of both their letters to the school my grandkids attended. No explanation. No message. Just the truth, handwritten and signed. Let me know when you're ready for the final chapter. The dramatic, emotionally satisfying ending where revenge and karma come full circle. After I mailed those letters to the school, I didn't expect much. I didn't want a scene. I just wanted the truth to exist somewhere outside of me. I wanted someone to see it all clearly, someone who might help my grandkids understand someday that I didn't just walk away without reason. 3 weeks later, the school counselor called. She said she'd read the letters, that she had shown them with permission to the guidance team, and that they'd had a private meeting with Aaron and Brianna. She didn't tell me much, just that the school had concerns about emotional dynamics at home and how the children process adult conflicts. That was enough for me. A record. A signal. Something in writing that this wasn't all in my head. But that wasn't the end. By June, Aaron and Brianna were barely keeping things together. The refinance had gone through, but it didn't help them the way they'd hoped. Europe didn't happen. Their debt didn't disappear. And my silence must have eaten at Brianna more than any fight ever could, because I started getting calls. First it was Aaron, leaving a message late one night. "I know things got bad, Mom. I know we messed up. But the kids ask about you now. They miss you." Then a week later, it was my granddaughter, using Brianna's phone. Her voice was small, unsure. "Grandma?
I'm sorry you left.
I didn't mean it. Can we see you?" I didn't say yes. Not right away. I told Aaron he'd have to come over. Alone.
No, Brianna.
When he did, he looked older. Tired. Guilty in a way I'd never seen. He sat at my table, the same one where I used to serve Thanksgiving pies, and told me everything. That after the letters, Brianna doubled down. Angrier, colder. That the kids had started repeating her bitterness, even in school, and it had backfired. Teachers were concerned. Friends distanced themselves. And Aaron said something I'll never forget. "She always told me you were overbearing. That you needed to be put in your place." I believed her. But now I see what really happened. You gave, and we treated you like you didn't matter.
He cried.
Quietly. I didn't reach for him. I said, "You let your children believe their grandmother was beneath them. That takes years to fix. Not an apology." He nodded. Then he asked, "Can we try?" I thought about it. Long and hard. I said, "Not if Brianna's still lying. Not if the kids don't hear the truth from both of you." So we made a deal. They'd host Thanksgiving that year. They'd cook, clean, and invite me over as a guest, nothing more. The kids would each write me a letter about what happened and what they'd learned. And Brianna? She'd look me in the eye and apologize. Not for show. For real. If they did all that, I'd come. It happened. That November, I walked into their house for the first time in almost a year. It looked different. Smaller, somehow. Brianna met me at the door, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked nervous. She didn't hug me. She just said, "I was awful to you. I was selfish. And I let my kids think cruelty was funny. I'm sorry." I nodded. That was enough. The food was overcooked. The table was crooked. But the kids smiled. They handed me letters. And this time, when I asked for help clearing plates, they both stood up without a word. I didn't go back to being Grandma the maid. I became someone else. Someone they had to earn back. And that, more than any spite or silence, was my revenge. Not loud. Not cruel. Just true.